Hello and welcome to Ex-Witness Awake. I'm your host, Jonathan. I hope that you are doing well today. I'm doing pretty good myself. I have a little less work to do during the week because of the holidays, reduced scheduling for some jobs, and that's kind of nice, and I like that. Anyway, I was just thinking, I don't know what apostates did back in the day before jw.org and JW Broadcasting and all that. They had to come up with lots of ideas just on their own.
A book?
That's right. When I was your age, television was called books.
It's great to have help from the organization and giving us gems to work with. So I popped on to the website, and lo and behold, I found this.
Hold on to your butts.
This little video is about, 4.5 minutes long, and it talks about misinformation and how to protect yourself from misinformation. And I tell you, every time that one of these people gets on stage or in front of a mic, this happens to be a cartoon. It's like a doodly cartoon, but every time that they do that, they seem to point, and they're really pointing at themselves. It's just a lot of projecting, if you will, a lot of advice that they should follow themselves. So what am I talking about? Well, misinformation is something that the organization is really good at. So in my observation, they are really misdirecting, misinforming people about what they do, about the things that you should look out for. So let's check out the video, and I'll just insert my commentary as we go, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's roll the clip. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
In today's world, there's a constant flood of information coming at you from just about everywhere. It's good to stay informed. The problem is that not everything you hear or see is true.
Okay, so that's starting out with something that pretty much everybody can agree on. Not everything you hear is true. So that's establishing that we know what we're talking about, but let's see where this goes.
Some of it is misinformation. Opinions, half-truths, conspiracy theories, and even outright lies dressed up as facts.
So who do you suppose they're talking about here? What is this weird little creature supposed to represent? I'm thinking they really don't care much about politics or world events unless it's something that has to do with a prophecy or something like that. What they're talking about is things that make them look bad, apostates to be precise. But let's see where this goes. Hello, future me here. While editing this video, I realized that there's a conversation that's happened in our Discord server about certain channels, XJW channels, that might be kind of on the fringes. I'm not going to mention any specific, just to say that because I'm debunking this Watchtower video, I'm not going to say that everyone from the XJW community is necessarily going to be on the right page. There might be some that are, in fact, full of conspiracies, that might be talking about things that are hateful or racism, that sort of thing. While it's okay to have your own opinion about things, it is not okay to be hurtful. It is not okay to be hateful. It's not okay to incite people to violence, that sort of thing. Anything like that. So, this point that the organization is trying to make can be correct in some instances, that there might be some that are out there that they're not looking for the good of others. So with that said, just use discernment. just like you would in anything else. If you find something that you're like, I don't know about that, maybe it's not for you. There's a very wide community that is accepting and loving and just wants to help, and they'd love for you to join them and on their adventures and learn with them. Okay, back to the video.
Misinformation isn't just inaccurate, it can also be dangerous. It can cause people to make bad decisions or to ignore important safety warnings.
Well, they definitely got that right, because misinformation is dangerous and it can definitely cause you to make bad decisions. Say, for instance, you're considering studying with one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So the things that you're told are not going to give you the full picture of what is really involved and how your life is going to be affected. So without that information, the misinformation that you're given, you end up with a situation to where you have now devoted your entire life to an organization that is just going to chew you up and spit you out, that is just going to use you, and that's dangerous. Also, you aren't going to necessarily understand what you're getting into when it comes to your health, because you may find you're in a situation where you can't take blood that can save your life, and now you could die over the information that you've been given or that has been, or specifically left out, so that you don't know what you're getting into.
So how can you protect yourself from misinformation? At Job 12:11, the Bible says that we should test out words, as the tongue tastes food. When you taste something new, you can spit it out if it's bad, before you swallow it. In the same way, before you believe a story or repeat it to others, you should put it to the test. Here are 2 ways you can do that. Test number 1. Consider the source of the information.
That right there makes me think of all these reports that we see by Robert Hendricks, who is going on all these different websites and news platforms and talking about how great the Jehovah's Witnesses are and all the good that they do and how they're good for the community and, charitable work and all that stuff. And it's just garbage. It's misinformation. Because that is a case of what's the sources of this information? Is it outside sources? Is it people saying the Jehovah's Witnesses are great from outside observation? Or is it somebody who's a spokesman for that organization saying we're great?
Do you know where the information originally came from? Don't be fooled by appearances. An online post may look official, but behind the scenes, the author may just be repeating rumors or spreading his own opinions.
Well, they're right about one thing. Production value and looks can be deceiving, because somebody is giving an opinion from their basement or from their home or whatever. It doesn't mean that what they're saying isn't necessarily true. Just because you have a production studio and flashing lights and a set doesn't mean that you are telling the truth. So keep that in mind. It's about the information, not about the packaging it comes in.
And with something called Deepfake technology, dishonest people can even do things like swap the faces and voices in a video to create a completely fake report.
This part I find very insidious for them to put in here. Yes, it's true that with technology you can deepfake something. I've seen a lot of TikToks, where people are dancing around being Brad Pitt or whatever.
Okay, so you're Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much.
But what they're doing here is putting forth the idea that you shouldn't believe a video necessarily if it's negative because it could be fake. Well, I'll tell you, apostates aren't going and taking Tony Morris's head and switching it for another person and using a computer software to make him say something that he didn't. But they're basically implying that's something that could happen. So don't believe everything that you hear and don't believe everything that you see, because it might be somebody who's manipulating things to make it look like it's not something that's not true. Well, it is true, and we don't have to do anything to what they say, because they say ridiculous things all on their own without us having to do anything. Sure, we might edit something sometime for humor purposes or to get a point across, but we're not trying to imply that the governing body is saying something ridiculous when they didn't. So I find this part to be especially troubling.
So, even if a story is widely repeated, follow the Bible's advice of 1 Thessalonians 5:21 and make sure of all things. Compare what you hear with other sources to verify the information.
Well, here's the problem with that, Mr. Narrator. You're only supposed to check sources that are published by Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't want you to compare to other sources outside of the Watchtower Library. So how are you supposed to get an accurate representation of things when it's all one-sided and biased?
Test number 2. Consider the purpose of a story. Is it really to present the facts or to promote just one side of an issue?
I'll say it again. Robert Hendricks and the Spin Doctor Department of the Public Face of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Some reports spin the news, emphasizing certain details and downplaying others to sway your opinion. Some reports may even be conspiracy theories, claims that certain groups have secretly plotted to cause a tragic event or crisis. The purpose is often to promote prejudice and hatred. Such theories have a way of spreading like wildfire. But they are just that, theories. And sometimes they're based on deliberate lies, so don't be fooled. But before you spend time and effort testing everything you hear, there's an important question you need to ask yourself. Is the story really that important to you? Splashy headlines can make even trivial news items seem important.
Depending on what the news item is about Jehovah's Witnesses, it can be very important. But they're essentially saying, don't worry about most of it. It's fine.
But if you follow every bit of information that pops up, you just may hit information overload or get stressed out about reports that are more speculation than actual news. If you feel overwhelmed, it may help to turn off some notifications and just search for the information you need when you need it.
Mind you, the Jehovah's Witnesses are probably not going to have XJW stuff on their newsfeed, notifications for that, no. But this is kind of saying that don't worry about the news, just look when we say it's important. Don't necessarily put a lot of effort and time and thought into things that might affect you that we're not talking about. Now, yeah, they're right. You can get overloaded on news reports and it can just be a little bit too much and can actually cause you a lot of anxiety. So they're not wrong in that. But you still don't throw everything out just so you can stay in the dark.
Of course, even if you're not online, misinformation can spread by word of mouth. Even well-meaning friends may just repeat what they've heard.
Okay, so you've reduced your notifications on your Twitter or your news channels or whatever, and where are you going to get your information now? You might be talking to somebody in the congregation or just having a conversation with your brother or sister, and they might have some questions about some things, or maybe they've heard something. Don't necessarily believe them. They might be misinformed. They might have the right idea, actually, and maybe you should listen to them and decide for yourself and not just listen to Mr. Narrator here or the governing body saying, don't listen to these reports from your friends because they might be trying to destroy your faith. Well, your faith might be wrong if it's based on the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses, and there's a lot that you really should consider
So whether you read something, hear it from another person, or it's forwarded to you by a friend, remember the words of Proverbs 14:15. The naive person believes every word, but the shrewd one ponders each step.
That scripture is some good advice. And it does make sense to ponder everything and don't believe everything that you hear. But how come the governing body basically says, Jesus and Jehovah trust us, so we should trust us too? That's just taking it from them, the ones who interpret the Bible, that they're right. That's not pondering what's going on. They don't want you to ponder what's being said by them, not in a critical light. They want you to go, yeah, that sounds great.
In other words, don't just believe everything you hear without thinking it through. But that doesn't mean we can't trust anything or anyone.
Obviously, even now, Jesus fully trusts the faithful slave. And all of us, even individual members of the governing body, should do the same.
If you hear something that makes you anxious or suspicious, go to someone you trust, someone with more experience, who can help you evaluate the truth behind it.
Members of the governing body.
By taking the time to evaluate information sources, considering the purpose behind the reports you hear, and not getting bogged down with news you don't really need, you'll be well informed instead of misinformed, and that will help you make good decisions and stay safe.
Okay, so what did we learn from this video? Well, the overall message isn't bad. To weigh things before you believe them and, check out other sources. It makes sense. But really, you have to put it directed towards the organization, the things that they have been saying, and apply it the same way you would something on the news. Is it true? Does it make sense? Is it false? And then take that information and do with that what you will, and think about it and make some changes, because you're probably going to find out with the right kind of research, the right kind of source checking, which is not just on jw.org or talking to your local elder or even writing the branch, but to find out what people are saying about Jehovah's Witnesses. People who aren't or have never been Jehovah's Witnesses, what are they saying about it? What are people that have been, what are they saying about with their personal experiences? Just don't take the word of the governing body. So that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your stopping by and checking out my video. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to keep on top of the videos that I put out, maybe ring that little bell notification thingy, and I will catch you next time. So have yourself a great day. Bye for now. Hello, future me here. Hello, future me here. While editing this video, I realized that in our Discord we have been... Hello, future me here. While editing this video, in our Discord we've kind of had a little discussion about some in the XJW